Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar on holiday retail success, tips to scale and optimize your last mile operations. My name is Sahava, and before we begin, I'd like to introduce our panelists who will be providing those tips and insights into managing peak season. From Deloitte, we have with us Bill Kammerer. Bill is a partner at Deloitte and a leader in Deloitte's retail and consumer products practice. He serves a variety of clients, but primarily focuses on helping retailers improve their supply chains. Bill has 30 years of experience across supply chains in both industry and consulting, and he has served many of the top retailers. Our next panelist, Bonnie, is a vice president at FedEx Freight, which is a subsidiary of FedEx Corporation and a leading provider of LTL freight services based in Memphis, Tennessee. Bonnie leads the strategic objectives of FedEx Freight Direct, FedEx's e-commerce answer for the heavy and bulky product market, and the first and only FedEx service to enter a customer's residence. Since joining FedEx in 2002, he has held several roles in marketing, including product management, new product development, digital marketing, customer experience, and content strategy. Our third panelist, Daniela Perlmutter, is the Vice President of Marketing at Bringg, the leading technology provider of data-led delivery and fulfillment orchestration, serving retailers and logistics providers. In her career of almost 20 years with technology companies, Daniela has built and led marketing teams across different industries, including telecom, IoT, and cybersecurity, and has recently joined Bringg to lead the company's go-to-market strategy and drive Bringg's positioning as a market leader. In a moment, I'm going to turn things over to Daniela to get us started, but if everyone could take a look at the control panel on your screen, you should see a gray strip where you can ask questions. At any point during the webinar, you can go over there and ask a question. You can direct it to a specific panelist if you'd like, and we're going to try to get to a couple of your questions at the very end of the webinar. Afterwards, we're going to be sending out a recording, and we'll get back individually to everyone who sent in a question, so feel free to ask away. And now I'd like to hand it over to Daniela.
Great, thank you, Sahava. So first of all, I have to say it's such a delight to have you, Bonnie and Bill, with us virtually here to discuss really the opportunities and the key challenges retailers are faced with as we gear towards the holiday season. So really the goal is of this webinar is really to come out of this discussion with insights on how to be better prepared for the upcoming peak season of 2020 and beyond. But before we jump into the discussion, I'd like to reflect on really what we've seen in 2020 in this slide here, where we see all sorts of really announcements on how 2020 has really been, in one way, a very challenging year for retail, with overall retail sales that have declined by 2.5%. And it's really comprised mainly by the sharp decline in the offline sales. And that's across categories apart from groceries. It's really the only category that saw a nice increase in overall sales by over 7%. Now, in parallel to this decline in the offline, there is a tremendous growth in online sales. And in fact, there are so many statistics out there. You know, some say 18%, some say 20, 22% of growth year over year in the online sales. But what we know for sure that it's growing with, different retailers providing, tens and hundreds of percentages of growth year over year that they reported in their second and third quarter in their financial announcements. Now, this tremendous growth, together with closing stores due to the COVID-19 pandemic, has driven really a boom in retailers' fulfillment models, like pickup from store curbside, fast deliveries, and others. And so nowadays, as we're getting closer to the peak season, experts predict that the peak season in 2020, which is termed as no other, will see an unprecedented increase of 40% in online sales. And this moves us really to the key challenges that retailers need to address as the pressure on the profit margins grow. So when looking really at the delivery capacity, in this slide, what we see is really that with the growth in the online sales, we're seeing that the way to introduce the ability to address the increasing volumes of deliveries that are expected, we're seeing that there is probably going to be a 5% really deficiency in the delivery capacity. So they need to increase their delivery capacity. And we're seeing that some carriers are going with taking crowdsourced carriers. Some retailers are going with third-party fleets. And we're seeing the statistics of saying the increase from 9% to 1 in 4 in the next 12 months will go with those crowdsourced fleets. So really the question is here, you know, to you, Bill, sorry, to you, Bonnie, is if we look at the 56% of consumers that choose a brand because they offer in-store pickup, and we'll see that in the next slide, the statistics. So what is really your advice? Zahava, can you move to the next slide?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I think
Oh, sorry.
we're here.
Sorry, we're in the first question. Sorry, that's my problem. So as we see really the pressure on the cost of logistics and the need to actually increase the delivery capacity. So really, Bonnie, what is your advice to retailers when they need to increase the delivery capacity during the peak season and also beyond the peak season?
So thank you, Daniela, and thank you for including me today during this webinar. First, I want to give you just a quick overview. At FedEx, we've been seeing peak-like volumes since March, and the growth that we expected to see over a period of several years happened in just several months. With COVID-19 dramatically accelerating e-commerce, we're entering a peak season the industry has never seen before, and we're preparing for what we're calling the Ship-a-thon and ready to deliver for our customers. And so, you know, what we've been doing at FedEx, we've taken a number of proactive steps. We've accelerated FedEx Ground's 7-day residential delivery to 95% of the US population. We've also made investments in automated facilities, as well as we've grown our retail convenience network, as well as the expansion of FedEx Freight Direct for heavy, bulky shipments. These strategic investments will help better support what is expected to be an unprecedented holiday season. And we're also adding more than 70,000 positions in key markets across the United States. But a key tip for customer deliveries is bundling is better. Offer a product or shipping discount to encourage order consolidation. When you consolidate an order into one shipment, you can reduce your order fulfillment efforts and your shipping costs significantly. Customers get their entire order at the same time and with less packaging waste.
Thank you. And Bill, what is your view in light of, you know, what is written here with the trend of really going adding the capacity by adding additional fleets, whether it's from crowdsourced carriers or with third-party fleets that are not crowdsourced?
Sure. I think there's a couple of areas within how to really manage this capacity. I think there's two pieces of it. There's one around working closely with the carriers, like Bonnie's team, of understanding how can I best be prepared, how can I work within the confines of your network, and being able to plan ahead. In regards to other type of shipping conveyances, I think we're seeing a lot of our retailers that we work with are starting to branch out from the very traditional shippers and getting into many of the micro market delivery capabilities. In particular, retailers that have a physical footprint, so a store of some sort, you're starting to see much more of the fulfillment coming out of that store and leveraging local market delivery. So while many of those retailers will have fulfillment centers where they're, typically maybe shipping out their parcel packages, in the local markets, you're starting to see them developing relationships with either smaller local-based couriers, looking at the DoorDashes or the Instacarts, or even some of the more kind of unique giga drivers. So whether it's Lyft or Uber or some of those other capabilities, you're starting to see more of that being leveraged for these local market type deliveries. I think the other component around the capacity is not just the transportation aspect, but thinking about how do I prepare for that capacity within my distribution centers? Because while there's going to be a significant amount of pressure on Bonnie's team and her competitors, there's a significant amount of pressure within the DCs, not just because of the there's the increase in volume of online, because as your statistics you mentioned earlier, I mean, pick a number, but it's at least twofold to where most people are seeing their e-commerce business. But what are they doing within those DCs to handle that capacity? Because while the last mile may be a point of contention with COVID, and the fact that you've now got distribution centers that are having to operate not only from a workforce at a smaller capacity, just because of maintaining social distancing. Unfortunately, if there's a sickness on a shift, having to close down or having to expand to 24-hour operations, there's certainly things that need to be done within that distribution center to prepare for shipping into that last mile.
So if we look at the really the pressure also that you talked about, the distribution centers as well, another method really to address this deficiency of delivery capacity could be also by introducing new fulfillment models. And this is where we have this figure showing that 56% of customers will really choose a brand because they offer in-store pickup. So Bill, what is your advice to retailers? Should they focus on optimizing one fulfillment model, let's say delivery, or should they introduce several fulfillment models to address this increased volume?
Yeah, great question. And what we're seeing across many of our retailers, whether it's traditional brick and mortar with the e-com or even just a digital native brand, we're starting to see multiple fulfillment channels. I mean, it's going to be required. You have some. On one hand, you have, just from a consumer behavior, many consumers still are not comfortable going into stores. So you need to have a conveyance for them, whether it's home delivery or the buy online pickup in store. The curbside, as you see in the statistic there, I mean, the amount of curbside or in-store pickup has been tremendous. And I think this is an important piece for many retailers that haven't started this. Most have, of some form or fashion, more of the curbside. That's going to be continuing to be a significant demand going through the holiday season. However, I think an interesting statistic around on the online business, which means which just emboldens why you need multiple fulfillment methods, is that 51% of shoppers, they're actually going to look to have their shipments that they buy at Christmas sent to the recipient. So I'm going to send it to, my sister in South Dakota instead of us. We're all not going to be getting together for the holiday season. So this is going to put even more of a strain on retailers to be able to handle multiple delivery mechanisms. So great for curbside pickup for my immediate family, where we're all somewhat comfortable together during the holiday season, but for those extended family members that are not able to travel home for the holidays, I want to send my gift to them. So that's going to increase the amount of volume that's going out. So I need to be able to do both the online pickup in store as well as the traditional delivery.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing several retailers who've really addressed this need of localization, as you said, by quickly introducing this curbside pickup, and that's in addition to increasing capacity with third-party delivery. So, Bonnie, what is your advice? What do you see your retail clients opting to?
So I suspect most retailers will continue to promote same-day delivery or buy online, pick up in store. But our public service announcement is we encourage everyone who's planning to do their holiday shipping online to shop and ship early. So the earlier, the better. But for merchants that do not have a large brick and mortar footprint, there are ways for merchants to offer flexible delivery and pickup options. So if a retailer is open to shipping to centralized pickup locations near their end customer locations, such as a FedEx office, Dollar General, or Walgreens stores, it would reduce logistical demands and save the additional cost of residential drop-off. Promotions could be used to incentivize lower cost delivery options like centralized pickup or buy online, pickup in store.
Okay, so actually this is interesting, because now if we also go and move into the next part is the increase the expectation really of the increase in the shipping cost. And there is an expectation for surcharges of in between $1 to $5 even. And Bonnie, you mentioned earlier also the need to deal with the delivery capacity challenge by bundling orders together to reduce the delivery needs. What else can you advise retailers to manage the cost of delivery?
Well, so when, again, FedEx made a lot of investments to the network to allow to maximize the capacity and deliver the best possible this peak season. But we're focused on collaborating with retailers to ensure we're doing everything possible to prepare for this anticipated peak volumes. But one thing retailers should do is plan their promotions in light of shipping constraints. Shipping demand is usually highest on Mondays. So promotions launched over the weekend have the potential to be problematic. So at FedEx, we deliver for about 95% of the US population on weekends. But these days are also important e-commerce order days, and many merchants don't leverage them the way competitors do. So like many retailers have already announced, merchants should move up their sales earlier in fall. An earlier start to the season may also save on costs on certain surcharges that would be applied later in the peak season.
Those are very practical, very practical tips. Bill, do you have additional advice you'd like to add?
Well, I think from a order management perspective, I mean, that's certainly an area where retailers need to be paying attention to. It starts even at the beginning of the offer online, of showing being able to show inventory of where it's located, being able to ship just one package rather, an order. If I have 4 units per order, being able to ship those together rather than 3 independent orders. So making sure that even within your warehouse management system, that you've got the appropriate picking rules in place, the order batching in place, and then ensuring that you're not offering product that is going to force you into having unbundled shipments. And I think the other piece that I'm seeing a lot of retailers pay particular attention to is, if I'm going to do local market delivery out of a store, how do I manage my order so that I can take that, the free ride, if you will, from my distribution center into the store and then do my last mile delivery, whether it's a curbside or whether it's using one of the local courier services for delivery. I think really understanding that order management process is very important. And I've seen many many retailers already have that capability built within their systems to either ensure that I'm presenting inventory that's only going to be cost efficient to deliver to you, and I'm not going to offer you something, Bonnie living in Memphis, I'm not going to offer her a product that I'm going to have to ship from New York to her, and making sure that if I've got that inventory sitting somewhere else, that I'm sourcing it from that location.
So this actually is a very good segue to the next slide. When we want to, I wonder how we can make sure that retailers actually address the last minute orders or the different orders that need to be delivered from different local stores. How is it really possible to optimize their retail brick and mortar footprint to fulfill the increase in the online sales? We're seeing that 76% of retailers are using inventory, as you said, in local stores to fulfill the online orders. So, Bill, how do you think store associates maybe could provide a better experience to customers? Maybe those last-minute customers who have the last-minute shopping to do, like myself, that they opt really to pick up from the store curbside their last-minute shopping.
Well, I think if you look at our grocery industry, they certainly have somewhat mastered that last the in-store delivery process. Certainly all of us, particularly over COVID, we've seen a significant increase of I can go online, order my groceries, and many of the grocers are fulfilling those right off the shelves. So whether it's an Instacart or many of the other services, or even their own, they're picking it right off the shelf to fulfill my online cart order. There's pros and cons to that, because you've also increased the opportunity, if you will, to take inventory from store shoppers, the in-store shoppers. So I think that there's an interesting balance between how much am I fulfilling off of a shelf versus how much do I fulfill out of the back of the store, so that I don't take inventory from my shopper. Now, that was a big concern last year when everyone started to talk about grocery fulfillment out of pick any of the big boxes that we're all familiar with that have offered that buy online, pick up in the store, or getting it fulfilled from the store. It was a bigger issue back then because we were competing with my picker in the store with my shopper in the store. But now that you've seen foot traffic down in the stores, again, it's become less of an issue. We have heard a couple of our retailers that have been thinking through, how do I offer a curated service for the holiday, to where perhaps I might place an order online and we'll go, the store will go curate it, maybe even wrap it for you. So I think there's an opportunity for some of those kind of higher end retailers to add more service to make it a little bit more personalized, but yet safe and efficient. And I think the other thing that we're seeing, just to mention on optimizing the retail footprint, is you're also seeing some micro fulfillment centers being put into urban areas, so that I might not necessarily have to worry about driving foot traffic to my store, but then I can fulfill it out of a warehouse that's very local, that I can do very quick same-day delivery, and I've got some density. That certainly has been a big move. I mean, we've all seen that Amazon announced the 1,000 facilities that they're going to put into local markets, but what we don't hear about are some of the other smaller retailers that have stood up their own kind of dark store or local facility to accommodate preparation for the holidays.
So, Bonnie, really, what do you see your shippers doing to optimize their retail footprint?
Well, I think it's much of what Bill mentioned, is really leveraging inventory at the store level, making sure that they're very well planned ahead, and keeping forecasts tuned up and using those to make critical decisions. The other piece that Bill also mentioned was fulfill closer to the end consumers to find shorter haul solutions, which is really, really critical. I mean, let's make sure we're fulfilling where it's the closest to that end consumer. And then the other important factor is inventory has to be tracked across all selling platforms, and retailers shouldn't accept orders for inventory that they don't have and possibly cannot get or replace prior to the holiday season.
I like that, Bonnie, when you say getting closer, and I think you both really said it very clearly. We need to get closer to the end customer, to the consumers. And that also leads us to the next issue that I wanted to raise here is really about how we can drive this brand loyalty. So if 57% of consumers say that same-day delivery would make them more loyal to retailers' brand. So at the end of the day, the race is on. With the holiday shopping season, retailers are racing for consumers' attention and their wallet share. So Bonnie, while consumers say, more convenience and quick delivery methods drive their loyalty, what other tips of advice can you give retailers to leverage delivery as a means to drive brand loyalty?
Well, it's really about managing expectations of the consumer. So a couple of tips that we have for customers and things we've seen and worked with our customers with for several years is designate a holiday order by shipping deadline that you feel confident you can meet based on your promotion schedule and order projections. And then tell your customers, tell them early and tell them often what that date is. There's always a chance sales will exceed your expectation. That's a good problem, but it could also cause delays if you're not prepared for it. Add a disclaimer to checkout page to avoid overpromising, and this will help make the season less frustrating and stressful for you as well as your customers. If you think you might see changes in product availability, plan for it and tell your customers. If you have limited quantities of certain items, note that on your site so they won't be disappointed. Over-communicate. Over-communicate order status to buyers during the entire sales and shipment process. When it comes to their orders, customers would rather have too much information than not enough. Plus, keeping them in the loop reduces your customer service calls and emails. So send tracking information with order confirmation and explain how they can sign up for automatic notifications. Communicate proactively about their order when it's in the fulfillment process. Send alerts. Send it when the order is packed, when it's shipped, when it's out for delivery and delivered. And then in addition, add post-order FAQs to your website and email communications. This will help customers find relevant information on their order status, tracking details, as well as the return process. But you also have to prepare for the unexpected and be ready to pivot. The holidays often bring inclement weather like snow and ice with them, and that can affect shipping services and delay deliveries. So sign up for service alerts and stay informed about these and other items that could impact shipping times. And this will just help you make sure that your customer is well informed.
I like that. You're talking about over-communicate. Always share lots of the notifications and make sure you're also abreast of the unexpectancies that we have. Bill, what is your advice to really cement this brand loyalty by leveraging the fulfillment models?
Well, I think Bonnie really hit the important things, which is around setting the customer expectations, because I think many of us, even all of us, are consumers that order things online, and I don't necessarily need it tomorrow, but what I do need is for you to be able, if you tell me it's going to be delivered on X day, then being able to live up to that. I think the other piece starts at the front end of the equation, which is on the whole consumer interface, being whether it's online or in store, particularly online. I think one of the things that we've learned in some of the surveys that we have done is around where consumers get frustrated is when they're offered a product, and then when they get ready to check out, they find out that, oh, that's not available, it's out of stock, or that's going to be a 3-day shipping, not a 1-day shipping. I think it's offering those up front so that I can make my informed decision of shopping, because that goes into Bonnie's points around, it's all about communicating expectation for delivery to the consumer.
So really you're saying it's not just communicating the information, it's also giving it at the right time. So make sure you communicate timely when customers expect to know it before they go through the entire process, and then the frustration goes up.
And I think a lot of it comes, I mean, it's not necessarily, this isn't necessarily related to the logistics aspect, but make sure you're pressure testing your e-commerce platform up front around what information is available and how does it work all the way through the checkout process, because that's where people get more frustrated at the end of the checkout process online for their orders, whether they're picking it up or it's going to be delivered. And that very quickly will drive consumers away from your brand, or if it's very difficult and you don't live up to what the expectation that you promised.
That's very clear, and actually it leads us really to the final tip of advice. When we come to our next really and final issue that we'd like to address, is really the customer experience. And we really put the customer center throughout the entire discussion, really because everything is about making sure that customers feel that they are that their experience matters most, and their experience starts all the way from, as you said, Bonnie, it's about making sure you plan ahead, making sure you also do not overpromise, and plan also the promotions based on your delivery capacity, and also based on the cost, to manage the cost, as well as based on the availability of the inventory in the local stores. And Bill, you mentioned really all about, just as we just mentioned, the need to avoid the frustration, and frustration really is in the latter part of the customer experience. Let's make sure that we already avoid that by communicating in a timely manner when customers also want to expect to get that information, so they can plan ahead accordingly. So it really starts from the point of managing expectations through enabling greater also choices of fulfillment, as we talked in the beginning of the discussion, and making sure that the delivery and the fulfillment of those orders really drive the brand loyalty, as we just talked about. So Bonnie, do you have any final advice you'd like to add with your final thoughts on the customer experience?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand with the brand loyalty as well. And some things that Bill mentioned earlier is, retailers spend a lot of money and effort to get eyeballs onto their website. But then once they're there, they've made the decision of what they want to purchase. Delivery time is important. Consumers want to know when the package will arrive before they make that purchase. So it's critical to have that information in the checkout. Consumers actually want more control over their shopping experience. So offer delivery options, including being able to pick up their packages at your retail location, or even at one of ours. So it will create convenience for them. And in addition to that, it reduces porch piracy. And consumers demand good return policies. So they buy more frequently from retailers who offer free returns. So extend your returns window past the holidays. This makes it easier for consumers to order earlier in the cycle and attract them to shop earlier. If you have a brick and mortar retail store, allow customers to make in-store returns, even if they bought it online. And again, if you don't have a retail presence, FedEx retail network includes FedEx Office, Walgreens, and Dollar General, and you can leverage FedEx to be your storefront, encouraging customers to drop off a return shipment. And then I'll mention one other thing that I mentioned earlier, and this really is for, at the end of the day, for the customers, bundle the order and then offer that product or shipping discount to encourage order consolidation. You'll help save your customer money, and you in turn will save money as well.
Bonnie,
I like this final. Yeah, and Bill, if you'd like to add this tip on bundling, and then the shared savings actually there as well also encourages the customer and their brand loyalty. Yes, Bill, would you like to add your final thought?
I was going to say just one point on the returns. I'm so glad that Bonnie brought the returns up, because that is that's a large deterrent at times to shoppers online, and there's plenty of statistics. I mean, one of the research pieces that our retail team did, it was about 62% of shoppers online will leave that retail site if they do not offer a return policy. Everyone generally wants a free return, but if it's not convenient or there's not very good instructions on how to return or giving you the options, people will make that decision to shop elsewhere. So I think that's very important, not only on the brand loyalty, but then how do you make sure you're keeping your customer at the center? I've talked to a couple of retailers, and they've said, our systems just aren't set up to be able to handle the return in the store, but they're going to do it anyway, because they recognize that it's more important to not lose that sale this year than it is to recognize that it's we're going to have a mess to clean up come January with the returns, but the value of winning that sale has been worth it. So I think some of more of the retailers that have been doing the in-store returns have built their capabilities around that, recognizing the importance.
The value that they provide their own customers is really driving a complete different approach to the entire life cycle of delivery and returns.
Yes.
So great. I'd like to thank you very much, Bonnie and Bill. This has been an insightful discussion filled with very practical tips and advices to drive really the success of this peak season and beyond, because whatever happens in the peak season will probably carry on also beyond. And really, when you think of what is a successful peak season, it really is the ability for retailers to scale up their business, to scale up their sales volume, to optimize the fulfillment and deliver really exceptional customer experiences. I'm really looking forward to a very successful holiday season like no other. So thank you again. And Zahava, do you have any additional points you'd like to say?
Yes, thank you, Daniela. Thanks again to Bonnie and Bill, and also to everyone who's listening in. I know a lot of you have asked questions, and I'm afraid that we have reached the end of our time, but we are going to be sending responses to everybody who's asked questions, and we're going to be sending the webinar recording in a day or so to everybody who attended and even everyone who registered, so feel free to share it with your colleagues. Also, you should know that Bringg regularly holds webinars and events with thought leaders in delivery and fulfillment, and really in logistics across the entire supply chain. And if you would like to get news about that, you can go to bringg.com and sign up for our newsletter. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and depending on where you're located in the world, have a great day or evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.